Though she played a country grandmother on the Beverly Hillbillies, Irene Ryan was nothing like her sassy, no-nonsense character, which made people laugh. Ryan was a veteran of the stage, radio, Broadway, and television acting industries. She had been performing for quite some time, so she was more than simply Granny. However, once the cameras ceased rolling, what did they do next? After a happy marriage and some financial success, Ryan's later years were marred by a tragic turn due to the haunted, deserted house associated with her name. Tragically, she was beginning a new section of her work when tragedy struck. Come with us as we uncover the fascinating, little-known details of Irene Ryan's life, from her rise to fame to her untimely demise, and the legacy she left behind. Early life. Irene Ryan came into this world in El Paso, Texas on October 17, 1902. She began her career in the entertainment industry at a young age. The Valencia Theater in San Francisco was the site of her debut performance, an amateur contest when she was 11 years old. It was evident from the beginning that Irene was destined for fame, but she would have to wait a few more years before she began her actual career. She won $3.00 for singing Pretty Baby. She worked for a stock company in California while pretending to be 14 years old. She was adamant about making it big in the industry despite the fact that she was too young to work, according to the state's child labor laws. School had never really piqued her interest. After just 2 years of high school, she made the decision to devote herself entirely to performing on stage. Before breaking into the entertainment industry, she spent 4 years honing her craft in stock theater. Irene performed all over California after discovering her singing voice in musical comedies and variety shows. It was around this time that she crossed paths with fellow comedian Tim Ryan. Off the stage as well as on it, they became inseparable, and in 1922 they tied the knot. For 20 years they were a married couple and business partners, and they achieved great success in the entertainment industry. Professionally, Irene and Tim Ryan were well known in the theater before transitioning to radio with their show Tim and Irene. They shot to fame after starring in the Dumb Dora act, which featured a charming but clumsy woman. Across the nation, it spread like wildfire. They appeared on The Bob Hope Show and The Rudy Vallee Show, two of the most popular shows of the era, as their fame increased. Irene was causing quite a stir not only on the radio, but also in Hollywood. There were 11 comedic short films in which she and Tim appeared together. Hamlet and Eggs, 1937, The Wacky Family, 1936, and Will You Stop, 1937, are among their most famous works. Despite their mutual professional success, their marriage ended in 1943, despite the fact that their on-screen relationship mirrored their real-life one. Irene and Tim broke up after being together for 20 years. However, following the breakup, they continued to collaborate on film projects even after they parted ways. Bob Hope put in a lot of time as a comedian for the American troops stationed overseas during WRI. Since Irene had previously collaborated with him on The Bob Hope Show, she was eager to lend a hand. She was rescued by Hope, who then included her in her USO tours, where she entertained troops and brought laughter to veterans' hospitals. She continued her selfless service after the war ended by putting on shows to cheer up the troops during the Berlin airlift of 1948. Even in the worst of times, Bob Hope knew that keeping people laughing was crucial. Believe me when I say that laughter up at the front lines is a very precious thing. Precious to those grand guys who are giving and taking the awful business that goes on there. He pointed out, when they come up to you, shake your hand and say thanks. It makes your throat swell the size of Grant's tomb. Imagine those guys thanking me. Look at what they're doing for me and for you. This wasn't just another performance for Irene. She wanted to use her skills for a good cause and give back, so she did it. In the 1950s, Irene Ryan continued to build her career as a Beverly Hillbillies actress by landing parts in several TV shows. She had already achieved stardom as an actress, but the event of the 1960s that would determine her fate was unparalleled. The Beverly Hillbillies' Granny Daisy Moses was the role that Ryan had her heart set on. The Clampett family's mother, Moses, had a reputation for being forthright and unyielding. The position nearly went to someone else despite her extensive background. Paul Henning, the show's creator, put his faith in his casting agent to discover the perfect grandma. But Ryan wasn't the one they initially picked. Irene disagreed with the agent's assessment that she wasn't a suitable match. Taking matters into her own hands, Ryan ensured that he would not be forgotten. She argued her case persuasively over the phone with Paul Henning that very day. "Look, Paul, do I have to go home and get my gray wig and shawl to convince you?" he inquired. "If you cast someone older, she won't be able to keep up. I know what it's like to work from 7 to 7 every day." Her determination and self-assurance earned her a second audition. However, Henning's recollection of events was slightly different in the future. EMTV legends revealed to him that Ryan had once approached him in his office and asked her directly if she would be interested in playing a farmer. The moment she started telling him a story, he knew she had his full confidence. Her question was, "Are you kidding? I was in a stock company and we played a theater in Arkansas. We kept waiting for the curtain to go up backstage, and finally, when it didn't, we went to the manager and asked why he hadn't let the people in. He said if he let them in before the curtain went up, they'd whittle away the seats. So yeah, I know hillbillies." Henning didn't need any more information. Irene Ryan possessed the necessary experience, determination, and charm to portray Granny Moses. Grandma, played by Irene Ryan? Irene Ryan's screen test clearly identified who should play Granny according to Paul Henning's memory from the past. According to Henning, B. Benaderet was there to try out for the part of Granny. As soon as Irene Ryan read the part, B came over to me and said, "That's Granny. She was just wonderful." This allowed Irene Ryan to land the role that would bring her fame, Granny Daisy Moses on the Beverly Hillbillies. Instantly upon its 1962 debut, the show became a massive hit. Buddy Ebsen portrayed the role of Jed Clampett, a regular guy from the country who became suddenly wealthy after his property was discovered to contain oil. Funny contrast, he used to live lavishly in the country, but he uprooted his family and moved them to Beverly Hills, living in style while still adhering to traditional rural practices. Donna Douglas played the endearing and charming Ellie Mae Clampett. Max Baer Jr. portrayed the innocent but likable Jethro Bodine, and Irene Ryan played Granny, the stern mother who kept everyone in line. Almost immediately, viewers were enamored with the program, breaking the record for fastest rise to the top in TV history. The Beverly Hillbillies became the most popular show in the world after only 3 weeks. It accomplished something no other show had done at the time. It even outperformed Bob Hope's famous show in polls, according to IMDb. Conversely, in order to maintain the enchantment of the show, the creators kept a few secrets from the audience. The Beverly Hillbillies has remained a beloved classic for decades, and subsequent generations can enjoy reruns of the show. After landing the role, Ryan still made sure she didn't let herself relax. She was terrified that her job might be terminated at any moment, despite the fact that the Beverly Hillbillies was among the most watched television series of all time. In 1965, she told the newspaper, "I'm the first person on set for every scene. I've been on time all my life. I was always afraid I would be fired, and you know what? I'm still scared." It was reasonable to be afraid. Hard work had been Ryan's career mantra throughout her time performing in vaudeville, radio, and, whenever opportunities presented themselves, television and film. Because of how precarious show business was, she had learnt early on to never take anything for granted. She never stopped being on guard, even when she was riding high, because she knew that anything could happen at any moment. The Beverly Hillbillies featured Irene Ryan, who played Granny at the age of 59. The dramatic age gap between her on-screen and real-life appearances was one of the most striking aspects of her performance. Ryan, who played the elderly matriarch with convincing conviction, was a very young 59 years old when the show premiered in 1962. In case you forgot, Grandma would go on and on about the Civil War and other things that happened in the 1800s. In keeping with her role as Jed Clampett's mother-in-law, Granny was depicted as a resolute elderly woman far into her golden years, despite Jed's advanced age. Ryan was still under 70 years old when the show ended in 1971, which was a good chunk younger than Granny's implied age. A lot of magic had to happen in the makeup room to compensate for this. Ryan had to wear heavy makeup to make her face look older on set every day. They made her look considerably older than she actually was by adding depth and making lines stand out using contouring, shadows, and wrinkles. She further enhanced the illusion with her distinctive gray wig and dowdy vintage attire. Viewers of the Beverly Hillbillies at the time were unaware that Ryan was not a genuine elderly lady. The methods employed on her eventually became the norm for cinema and television, impacting the use of makeup in series such as The Golden Girls. Even on older, lower-resolution TVs from the 60s and 70s, the change was barely noticeable. Some of the cosmetic tricks didn't stand out until decades later, when high-definition technology was developed. Still, nowadays, few would dare to doubt Ryan's age after seeing her performance. She was Granny on the Beverly Hillbillies for all 274 episodes. After 9 seasons, the show concluded in 1971. There was no word that Irene Ryan would ever use retirement. She had no intention of ever stopping acting and wanted to play the part of Granny indefinitely. She was quite forthright about her stance in an interview with the Sydney Morning Herald, saying, "Retire? My voice always gives me away. Unless I speak, no one will see me walking down the street. Honey, I want to die with my boots on," she said, and Ryan couldn't quit. Her success on the Beverly Hillbillies was everything she had dreamed of. But she discovered that fans only recognized her when she spoke, following which all individuals pivot. She was in Sydney for a special performance at the South Sydney Junior Leagues Club when we had this interview. Ryan wasn't shy about bringing Granny from the small screen to the stage, where she was adored by audiences. "People love Granny done on stage," she said, refusing to divulge much about her act. Although Ryan was very similar to Granny, she was very different from the overbearing, loving mother she portrayed. "I did her in Las Vegas and she went down like a bomb," she said, alluding to the character's enormous popularity. In real life, she was affable and welcoming. Her career lasted over half a century, and she performed in nearly every genre of the entertainment industry. The only genre she had never done was burlesque, and she joked about it. Despite this, she had no intention of slowing down anytime soon. She wants to keep playing Granny until she loses her voice. According to her, when people say they're retiring, they really mean they're going to lie down and die. After the Beverly Hillbillies ended, Irene Ryan didn't spend much time in Hollywood. She returned to live theater, which was her first love, telling the El Paso Times, "Nothing will ever take the place of the live stage for an actor. But television is here to stay, and it's about the greatest entertainment medium we've ever known." In 1973, she was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Musical for her role as Bertha, the sassy grandmother, in Bob Fosse's musical Pippin, which she took on Broadway. Despite being in her 70s, she continued to captivate audiences. She had previously received 2 Emmy nominations for her portrayal of Granny, on the Beverly Hillbillies in 1963 and 1964. Her rendition of No Time at All became an immediate sensation, thrilling audiences night after night. According to the New York Times, in Pippin, as those who have seen the show know, she was on stage for only about 10 minutes and stopped the show cold. Even though she was just 5 feet 2 inches tall, Ryan was a bundle of energy who frequently hung around backstage with the crew long after her performances ended, leaving John Rubinstein speechless as he waited for her applause to die down. Despite being 70 years old, she managed to keep up with the rapid pace of Broadway. Despite being half her age, she managed the mayhem behind the scenes with ease. Because she had been frugal and prudent throughout her life, Ryan was able to live comfortably. When she passed away, her bank account had about $1 million, 0 cents in it. On April 26, 1973, she continued performing right up until the end, despite suffering a stroke while performing. She passed away in Los Angeles after being transferred there. Her official cause of death was glioblastoma and arteriosclerotic heart disease. Performing was one of Irene Ryan's greatest passions. Similar to the tenacity and determination that endeared Granny to viewers of the Beverly Hillbillies, she continued to work tirelessly on her craft right up until her death. Students received the entire bequest from the late Irene Ryan. Ryan had a strong desire to help people and was devoted to her job. With the goal of supporting aspiring young artists, she established the Irene Ryan Foundation. She was so generous that she left her estate to charities so that their work would go on after her death. According to the press of Atlantic City, Ryan contributed over $1 million, 0 cents of her wealth, to a student loan fund. Ryan bequeathed her whole fortune to the foundation and established theater student grants since she did not have any close relatives to whom to leave anything. This will be a lasting legacy that benefits students long into the future. Extensive performance history. Near the end of her life, Ryan continued to perform on Broadway in Pippin. She debuted at the age of 70, playing the role of Bertha, a lively yet royal grandmother from the Middle Ages. Her extraordinary talent was recognized when she received a Tony Award nomination for her performance. On March 10, 1973, she had an onstage fall and was taken to Los Angeles' St. John's Hospital in a hurry. On April 26, she suffered a stroke and passed away the very next day. Many who knew her agreed with Buddy Ebsen, who worked with her on Beverly Hillbillies, that she was a delight to collaborate with. From her days on stage to her work behind the scenes with her charity, Ryan exemplified what it means to be a good person. Long after her passing, this remains accurate. Her ability to make people laugh and provide opportunities to young artists will live on in the memories of many. Despite her reputation as Hollywood's Granny, she was much more than that. She was a role model for many of us. The legacy of Granny Moses, Irene Ryan. Inside the abandoned home of Irene Ryan, Irene Ryan brought laughter, thought, and unforgettable shows to audiences. One less publicized aspect of her past is the house she owned but never occupied. Unfortunately, the house is now in terrible condition, but it serves as a peaceful reminder of the actress's life before her fame. Although Ryan became famous as Granny Clampett due to her film role, the tale unfolded differently in her actual home. Her actual home wasn't nearly as extravagant as the one shown on TV in Beverly Hills. Over time, the land has been abandoned to the weather, and now it is being gradually reclaimed by nature. The house appears to be mostly deserted, according to reports and Urban Explorer photos, with her belongings, office supplies, and furniture lying about. Rumor has it that among the dusty bookshelves are framed photos, newspaper clippings, and other artifacts that reveal her life outside of the spotlight. After his death in 1973, Ryan left behind a substantial fortune. The Irene Ryan Foundation was established by her to support individuals pursuing artistic careers. But now her once bustling house is nothing more than a forgotten relic of the golden age of Hollywood. Fans of the Beverly Hillbillies will never forget Ryan. She is remembered for her role as Granny's humorous antics, but also for her genuine kindness and dedication to her job. She continues to exert considerable influence despite the fact that her house is no longer inhabited. An in-depth look at Irene Ryan and Daisy Granny Moses' lives. It would mean a lot if you could like, follow, and enable notifications for future posts if you enjoyed this one in this particular manner. Be patient.